Selective exposure, Terron Davis.
I guess that's one of my fears. To kind of go back a little bit, but I think that'll bring it forward. One of my fears is being enveloped by groupthink. This concept of like only dealing with people who share my worldview and my own perspective. Granted, it's important to have community. Like community is important, and like essentially understanding other people's humanities and things of that nature is important to being a part of my surroundings or grouping. But like being so enveloped in that group to the point where you're like, you can't think of anything beyond it. Like you can't think outside of the parameters set by them for you, that you essentially live a limited life, and you live one that is not conducive to your own happiness, because at the end of the day, you're not going to ever like agree with someone 100%. So if anything, you're living, in the words of Frank Ocean, you're living in an idea from another man's mind, and I just don't think that I don't think it's conducive to anything productive.
You're scared?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I'm scared. My show, again, not really. It's really important for me to host dialogues about like ideas and concepts of like, let's say, beauty or parenting, like for millennials in the 21st century, and let's say concepts of masculinity even. And I sit with a friend, a peer who we're on the same wavelength as opposed to ideas about freedom and justice and so on and so forth, but we may like butt heads on certain concepts or ideas that we hold true for whatever reason. But we have that discussion, and we respect one another's differences, and we try to come to common ground for a space that we both feel like we receive something from that. I think that's a good way to go about it, because I could have easily created a show with myself just sitting there and being like, well, this is what the world is, this is what everything is, and everybody should just agree with what I said. I don't think that that's productive. So I'm very interested in dealing with concepts that we take for granted and understanding, like it's just, like let's say, just go back to the beauty idea, like beauty, okay, it just is, and looking at a concept for not only the fact that it is here, but how it got to the space that it is, how it transforms over time, and how like the differences in race, class, ethnicity, and all like these societal differences impact our understanding of this same term. And I think that kind of bleeds back into selective exposure, because we can all hear the same word and then get a completely different idea about it in our minds. And I think that that's because we exist in these bubbles that are so detached from one another. And I wanted to create a space where we, people who have like differing viewpoints on it, like have the opportunity to discuss those viewpoints and maybe find some sort of common ground there. I think it's important that for the fact that we're just having critical discussions about these things anyway, like we need to interrogate ourselves and interrogate our preconceived notions about life, and sit with them and be like, well, why do I think that? Like ask the question with intentions on, if you know it's harmful to someone else, being like, maybe I need to rework that in my mind and try to understand this perspective that I may not have particularly understood before. So then maybe I can humanize, again, I'm really big on that word right now, humanize their situation. Mm-hmm. And if we're not interrogating ourselves, I don't think we have the devices to then interrogate anybody else. Like, and the care and consideration that we give to ourselves is the care and consideration that I feel we should give to everyone else. And I honestly believe that opening the conversation could lend to seeing a better world, because I'm kind of bored of it.
In the modern age with the internet, like when somebody disagrees with you, you have the opportunity to walk away virtually.
You do.
So.
And I don't take that opportunity always, but and I maybe should in some spaces. Yeah, but I am also in my bubble. Like even if I'm talking about not wanting to be in them, I know that my Facebook, because of the algorithm that is particularly there, without my consent or choice really, but one that filters the conversation so that I only see liberal viewpoints on my news feed, so I can just like, and then have this idea of the world that, oh, this is the way the world is now. And then I go out into the real world, I'm like, oh, wait, it's not that. So I'm a victim to it as I try to critique it.
Can you remember a moment that you realized a belief that was handed to you was not yours?
Yeah, I was out in LA, and my cousin's partner at the time, like they were just having like friction between them, and I kept seeing reflections of myself in him, like the things I was frustrated with him about, like even just being there. I was like, I kind of like do the same thing. Like I was realizing how much I was outside of myself and like pointing the finger at him and I was like, why does it sound like I need to be telling myself this, whatever mantra I'm telling in the mirror, in relation to how I stop myself from pursuing passions or talk people out of seeing the value in the work that I do. Just self-esteem, like everything based in like lower self-esteem. And I'm like, and now I'm preaching to somebody else about this and I'm not even like imbuing that. That didn't happen out of anywhere. Like this is a notion that I had internalized from things external from me. And then I was also thinking like, well, why was I holding this? Like holding these onto these ideas. And then I immediately started studying race in school. And then I became a sociologist. And then the ball kept rolling in that direction. And like while I'm either taking a hiatus or deciding not to go to grad school right now, I just found it necessary because in that experience, I was realizing that I felt like I was talking to the ivory tower now and not particularly to any community that is necessary to be impacted. I was like, well, how else can I do this besides going to grad school where I can have conversations, use layman's terms, like make it conversational, maybe curse a little bit, and ground the work in making it accessible to all communities, making it interesting visually, having a good time with friends, and like basically essentially filming the conversations I'm already having and make that my work.